The photograph depicts a boat that is lost in a dark and foggy sea. On board, there is a plant that has limited time left to survive. This situation seems quite hopeless. The image represents how I feel after some courses, especially the ones where we discuss how the ecosystem has been degraded due to human activities or topics like climate change. I have found that the more we learn about plant identification, the more I see invasive species when I'm outside. Once we learn about certain patterns in class, I see them much more in real life. In my experience, these have been mostly negative. Aside from invasive species, I also notice environmental politics a lot more in the news, and those decisions have a lot more weight or significance now that I understand the concepts better. Although overall, I feel my emotional experience through my environmental education has been quite beautiful, there will always be a pang deep down at my core, knowing how unpromising the environment's future is. I feel very lucky to have learned about the wonders of the natural world through my education, which allows for deeper understanding and appreciation of my surroundings. But it has also heightened my awareness of how bleak the situation is. I have had instructors teach about things like political complexities and energy systems, assuming that students have a thorough base of knowledge on the topic. The content was so overwhelming and confusing to me that I left the class feeling powerless, withdrawn, inadequate, and numb. This picture was taken on the frozen canal near my childhood home. I see myself in the moments described above as the dark cracks in the ice, wanting to reach out with curiosity and to grow, but being frozen in place and turning cold. Others are feeling this way in the distance, but they're difficult to see and seemingly impossible to connect with. I have felt alarmed by professors who were honest about the reality we face, and frustrated by those who could not name it. I have felt humanity was missing from certain lessons focused on the science, and I have felt immense guilt from lessons focused on our individual contributions. I have felt excited about the possibility of spearheading solutions, and I have felt swindled into believing that there is no solution because there is no perfect solution. This is an identity crisis for us humans. I no longer know how to make sense of the world in little parts and manageable segments. I have frozen, staring at the storm clouds that look like a hurricane. My own identity has been reinterpreted, and in some ways, I too have dissolved. I feel inadequate and small. The storm clouds look too massive. Maybe it should rain. Students want to see a more sustainable world that works for both people and nature. In today's world, this can seem like an impossible dream, which may influence one's emotions. Emotions are not a weakness, though. I have found it incredibly useful to learn how to use my emotions to fuel my desire to achieve a more sustainable world. Allow yourself a space to feel those emotions, but not overpower your will and desire to be a part of the positive change that the world needs. The most impactful experiences I have had throughout my post-secondary environmental education have been grounded in land-based learning. Seeing environmental issues with my own eyes and meeting people impacted by certain stressors made my learning tangible and made the lessons feel more pressing than before. I never realized how accessible and underused some natural areas are in my city until I became a parent and needed to get out of the house for fresh air and something to do with my baby. I had walked through this nature park a few times. However, I never had a full appreciation for what it had to offer. My first thought was that a walk through a nature preserve would be an ideal class setting. To be able to see an area and learn about applicable environmental laws around it would add so much more connection to the learning. This picture is from Thunder Bay, Canada, overlooking the Sleeping Giant. It is a beautiful landmark, and there is an Ojibwe story behind why it's there in the first place. It is impossible to ignore the cultural impacts of environmental stewardship activities. Hence, it is important to include more of Indigenous storytelling and perspectives. This picture is of one of my favorite trees in the world. Its enormous branches reach out with such incredible warmth and strength. That is how I picture an alternative version of myself, where my environmental education allows me to connect with my peers, make mistakes, be curious, and have my feelings validated.